Sylvain Rochon, and ready to get people to expand their human experience using cutting-edge technology. And this is what we're going to be talking about, cutting-edge technology, some more of that today. We'll be talking about eVTOLs, the self-driven kind, basically. A VTOL is a vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. And when we talk about eVTOL, it means, well, it's electrical power. So no emissions, no noise, and it's using turbofans or propellers, depending on the design. And it can take off from your driver, for example, go 300 kilometers an hour and land somewhere else without making a sound. It's great. But normally with VTOLs, just like airplanes, you need a pilot's license. However, if it is self-driven with lots of sensors, just like Google's cars, just like Tesla's, just like most of the self-driven cars that are set to be released and manufactured and released to the public in about 2020 or so, if they're driven by artificial intelligence, well, they're the pilots. So we can just sit back, relax, and be taken anywhere else. And so this is really, really interesting. And in fact, I wrote about this in my blog. Uber has been testing eVTOLs for deployment probably after they deploy their own self-driven cars, like the land cars, the land kind. Other companies have been in that, looking at that space, like Google, NVIDIA, and also there is a Chinese manufacturer that is deploying some of this. Actually, they're more like drones in their cases in Dubai, so people can go from building to building directly using the third dimension of space instead of all the streets. So it's pretty cool for multiple reasons. Number one is that you're using the space above your head instead of only the street, so that it can decongest some of the traffic, because then you have some of the transit that is actually happening from destination to destination in the air without any pilot. That's awesome. And because it's self-driven, it uses all the sensors, it brings you to destination. Third very good advantage is that it's way faster, because you're going as the crow flies. You avoid the construction, you avoid the one-ways and whatnot. So one of the examples in the articles that you'll see below in the description is that you could go from JFK Airport in New York to Manhattan in about 5 minutes using an eVTOL. But if you use a normal car like you would do normally, it would take you about 55 minutes. So that's a big difference. Now the other extensions of advantages of that is that if we're using more and more of the top space, and it's air controlled by sensors and a grid of self-aware computers that avoid each other, right? That means the surface area, like the tarmac, I was going to say, or the asphalt, is free of vehicles. Not to mention that self-driven cars, because the actual cars, ground cars, because they are self-driven and automated, they don't cause any traffic, so it's much more fluid, and so you have less need for road, and just on itself with self-driven cars and trains and trucks. Now, if you're using the other dimension, you have less and less, even less surface vehicles. You can probably condemn, in fact, some of the roads because you don't need so many roads. You don't need such wide roads either, because you need less road, and it's the congestion is not much of an issue. So we can put more green, let's say, in our cities, for example, or create cities that are denser, like have cities that are and buildings that are closer together because of a lesser need for ground space road. And we can also build higher with more practicality, because now you can have either drones or VTOLs that can go from one building top, for example, or midway, to another building top or midway without needing to go to the ground. So it's way more practical for, let's imagine, business or executives traveling from their headquarter building directly to the airport, for example, without the taxis and going on the ground. Very neat repercussions that in city planning that could happen through that. And if we are making things denser, we repatriate a lot of the green around the city. We can grow dense and high instead of wide. That's good for nature. And also, if some cities decide to put more greenery inside the city, that's also good. So the city is wide, but it's overgrown in some way with more green, better air and whatnot. All good stuff. So I strongly encourage all that stuff. And this is likely going to come out, I would assume, probably 5 years or so after a full rollout and testing of self-driven cars into the market. I have no idea about the cost. Definitely, if you want your own, it's going to be probably more expensive than an electric self-driven car. But you don't really need that if you have Uber. You just call the VTOL to your place. It lands. You go in there and you travel. And just so you know, those from Lilium, which is, I believe, a German company that's working on it, on this very principle. Those eVTOLs are designed for up to 5 people. They travel up to 300 kilometers and at a speed of 300 kilometers an hour before it needed to be recharged and whatnot. So you can travel from city to city with these things, and then they can recharge at destination. Very, very cool. Anyway, that's going to be it for now. Hope you enjoy the vlog, and if you enjoy also the video, subscribe. Keep track. Next week I'm going to be talking about something completely different, but most likely it's going to be more technology. I'll